welcome to this wonderful tutorial on PHP. Today we'll be looking at form handling in PHP. Okay, so let's quickly open up our Sublime text. So today we'll be looking at different ways by which you can work with our form. Okay, I'm going to open our file, open folder. Go to the C drive, then the XAMPP, then the htdocs. Then I search for PHP tutorial, and here it is. Okay, so all right, so we'll be working with form handling form handling today. Form handling, now you see how to get data from users and also displaying it to them using form. All right, so right click on the name of your file, your folder, and then name this form hyphen handling handling.php. Control S, and it is saved directly under your folder. Okay, now we have two methods of receiving data from users. One of the methods is called the get method and the post method. Now, the difference between this get and post is actually get encodes the form data as a string of name value pairs and appends it in the URL, making it visible in the browser. Now it appends the form data as a string of name and value pairs and appends it in the URL of the browser. Okay, now it makes it visible. Now the get method, is separated by a question mark, and the spaces inside of the get method is being replaced with the plus sign. Okay, with the plus sign. All right, so we'll be looking at this get method and the post method. Now the post method, it sends the encoded form data through the body of an http request. Okay, now it sends it through the body of an http request. That is, you won't see the data in our URL. It will just go through the body of the http request. So we'll be looking at these things and knowing how it works in PHP. All right, now you might have done you've done your HTML where you're creating forms and where you're creating a form that gives user space to log in. Okay, now we're going to be looking at that today. So we have form handling. Okay, we're not going to worry about the meta tag and the rest, so let's just leave it this way for now. Let's just add some few ones and yeah. Okay, let's just leave it this way. All right, now I told you before you start building your form, you should have your form tag. Now the methods comes as an attribute. Now there are two main important attributes in form handling in PHP. One of them is the action attribute and the method attribute. All right, now the action is where your method will submit to once it's clicked on. So if I have submit at the end of my form, I have an input and the type is submit. Now once I click on this submit, it takes me to this action here which I have specified. Okay, so these are the two main important attributes in form handling. Okay, so we'll have this to redirect us back to our page, form handling.php, and then the method. Let's see how get works. We'll make use of get. Now we're going to have just two inputs to be a text, and then the name. The name will be full name. Then will be full name. Now, this name attribute is highly important in form handling. Okay, so with this name attribute, we are going to get the value of this input, exciting. So let's have us a placeholder that says enter full name. All right. So let's have another input and have this of type email, and then the name will be email, and then placeholder will be enter your email address, and then the last one will be our submit button with name, uh, submit. It can be anything. Okay, the name attribute can be anything. Okay, but we're just using this submit so it will be readable and understandable. Okay, so our value will be submit. Okay, so I'm going to save this work and go back to our browser. Any browser at all you have is okay, just make use of it. So let's have we have our local host slash our PHP tutorial slash form handling. That is the name of our file .php. Okay, now before we go into this, let's make sure that our XAMPP is on. XAMPP control. Oh, our XAMPP is not on, so just turn it on. Let's put on the Apache and the MySQL. We need those two. Alright, so click enter. Alright, so we have this beautiful layout here, and then the submit. Okay, alright. Now we are making use of the get method, and I initially said that the get method encodes the form data as a string of name value pairs and appends it in the URL, making it visible in the browser. Now click on submit. Okay, put in your first name and then an email address, and then click on submit. Now if you look closely in your URL here, you can see that the full name is appended as a name value pairs. Now see the full name is equals to Godse, and the email is equals to this email here, and the submit is equals to submit. Now where is this full name coming from, and this email is coming from the name attributes here. You see that? So it's coming from this place. Let's change this to first name, and let's go back to our browser. I'm going to get rid of everything here, submit, and then I enter my name again, and then the email, just enter this, submit. I saying it changed to first name. Okay, so the name attribute in our input tag is highly important in PHP. Now it might have less value in HTML, but in PHP it has a higher priority. Okay, so let's see how to get this input and then display it back to the user on the browser, because the user won't come at the top of your URL to read what he or she have added. Okay, so let's have a PHP file. Okay, I like having the PHP file at the top of my file. So open the PHP, and then inside of this we'll have dollar sign. Okay, I'm just going to change this to full name. Change it back to full name. All right. So I will have full name. Now this can be anything. It's a variable. Remember, is what you want. Okay. Now full name is equals to dollar sign underscore get, and then the name of our the value of our name attribute, which is full name. Now we are making use of this is called a super global variable. Now we're making use of this dollar sign underscore get is a super global variable in PHP because the method of this form is get. Okay, so we're making use of get here because we're making use of get here. All right, so what we have to do now is echo full name. Save your work and let's go back to the browser. Just going to get rid of this and refresh. Okay, now we're having an error. Notice undefined index full name. Now this is not necessarily an error. It's saying this because this full name is not yet defined. That is, there's no value inside of it yet. Now watch what happens. Let's put our name and then this and submit. You see that the error is gone. So it means that there's no value inside of that variable at that moment. So the best way to go around it, is let's copy everything, cut it, and then we have if is set dollar sign underscore get full name. Okay, then we'll have this inside. Okay, let's save, and I'm going to get rid of these things in my URL. Now you see that there's no error right now. So if is set means if there is a value inside of this variable here, okay, of this super global variable full name, that is this form here, this input tag, then assign whatever that is inside of this super global variable to this variable full name and then echo it. Okay, so let's also get for our email. Remember our operator. Now we're going to use and if is set dollar sign underscore get email. Remember this email here is coming from our name attribute email. Okay, so we'll have dollar sign email, our user defined variable is equals to dollar sign underscore get email. Say now we'll do echo. Remember our concatenation. We'll do this, then email. Now let's say, now let's go back to our browser, refresh, stop this, refresh. Now I enter my name and my email address, submit. Now we can see God say and our email there. So let's separate this to space and then we'll save. I get you that submit again. Awesome. So the only thing here in get method is that it passes our form data to the URL, which is not actually saved. So mostly we'll be making use of post method in this tutorial. Now let's look at how post method works. Okay, so we'll have another form here, form, and then the action will still be on our file, that is form handling.php, and then the method will be post. If you got this, you're a genius. Our method will be post. Now we'll have two input method. The first one will be profession, profession. Then placeholder, we have enter your profession, and then we'll have another input form, age. Actually, this will be number. Then the name will be age. Then we have a placeholder, enter your age, and then the last one will be submit, and then the name will be submit. Okay, now um, I'm going to comment out the first form, and then we'll have our if is set. Let's check if there's something inside of this input before we can echo it out or make use of the data. Okay, so we have if is set, $underscore post. Now we use get in our first example because we're making use of the get method. Now we're making use of the post, so the super global variable should be post. So we'll have profession. Now this profession is coming from the name attribute here. So I'm just going to change this to lower p. And if it set $underscore post. So what is the name of our attribute? We have get. Alright. Then we'll have $profession will be equal to $underscore post profession. We close it with a semicolon. And then age will be equals to $underscore post age. Close it. Now let's echo this out. So we have echo profession, then our concatenation with a space, um, then we echo age. We save this. Alright, let's save this and go back to our browser. We'll get rid of everything there, refresh. Okay, so we have profession, okay, let's say professor, then the age will be 34, submit. Now we have the the data for the first input and the data for the second one. Now if you notice in the URL, nothing is showing there, which is really awesome. Now remember, we said initially that the post method sends the encoded form data through the body of an HTTP request, so you won't see it embedded in the URL. So it passes through the body of the HTTP request. Alright, the video is getting too long. In our next tutorial, we'll see more interesting things which PHP can do with forms. Alright, so if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. See you in our next tutorial. Thank you.